All right, there we go. All right, Catherine, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome, everybody, to our Town Board Work Session, January 2nd, 2018. Just one announcement, there'll be no work session on Thursday. There will be a Town Board meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. They were putting that on the calendar. I think that it had been submitted as the dates, but it didn't go on the front page of the website for tomorrow, so that will be up today. So there'll be a Town Board meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So we'll start off today's work session with park fees, and I'll ask Ray Coyne to come up and discuss those with us.
Morning, Ray.
Morning,
Ray.
Resolutions.
Landscape changed a little bit. Okay, these are the 2018 park fees. I'm gonna hand you over the, actually just,
Just fine.
got enough? Okay.
That never changes.
Yeah.
So, so outline here is the resolution for the park and facility rental fees. So the only changes that we made from 17 is outlined in red. And you could see the tournament rental fee, how we rent the ball fields too, went from a 4-hour time slot, we're doing it all day now. And the third is our hourly fee. So I'll start with the rental fee. Tournaments still bring in the most revenue, so, but we're not bringing in enough revenue according to what our goals are, so I want to bring in a little bit more. So we went from $175 per day to $200 per day, so it wasn't a big jump, but just enough where we can bring in some more revenue.
And for the tournament rental fee, so that's 200 for the full day as opposed to the 75 for the 4-hour slots? Are those competing numbers?
No, not at all. That's tournament, the 4-hour time slots, which is leagues. It's
Okay,
different.
but it's still the ball field, it's still ball.
Yeah, the tournament will come in for a weekend, right? They'll come in for Saturday and Sunday, and we rent it per day. But the leagues will come in during the week, they'll come in on the weekend too, but they're consistent. They'll reserve like 10, 15 dates from us at once.
Okay,
So that's how we do that. So we break it up that way. Leagues bring in a decent amount of money too.
Tournaments are generally 1 or 2 day setup.
Yeah.
well, that's what I just said, because say if you have like and they're there more than 8 hours?
Leagues are setting up for a whole season.
Okay.
So Ray, the light fee of $50 per hour, we have to have somebody there to turn the lights on and turn them off, or?
Well, we don't have lights on half the fields, but that's another thing I'm
When
gonna
they
come
go
up
at
with.
Stotsky Park.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, the new lights, the new lighting systems allow you to do it from your phone, but the lights we currently have up, you have to have somebody come in and out. Yep.
So is the $50 per hour covering our costs as far as
Yes.
electricity and for the
Yeah,
employee to
a
be
little bit
there?
more than what we would cost per hour.
Okay.
Okay, so I got the tournament, the leagues I spoke about. 2017, it was 75 per day. Now we're doing 75 per 4-hour time slot. And those are based on the trends and what these leagues are doing. They try to get away with as much as they can. So instead of giving them the day fee, we give them 4-hour time slot. So a lot of them will come in a league and I'll have 2 games in the morning, say like 8 to 12. So we figured we can get 2 different leagues in there at the same time, on the same day.
Still cheap.
So,
It's cheaper for a league to rent that
yeah,
per day than it is to rent the tour house. Makes
Well,
sense.
well,
Yeah, but the
$200 per
tournament's
day,
gonna
it's
have
tournaments
10,
one day.
12 games
Yeah.
over the
Just for
course of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the leagues are only in here for like 2 hours at a time, you know, that nice beer league that comes in, right?
Yeah, well, I just saw a league.
So- Well, softball league as well. The hourly reservations, what we found was that we had a big increase in hourly reservations. These are people coming in and groups coming in to rent the ball fields for practices. So we found that on the trend report, the practices were up at the top at 24.71%, but the revenue was sixth, at 3.92% of total revenue. So that told us that we have to increase the fees, because we're getting a lot of supply in, but we're not bringing enough revenue for the practices.
So these are non-Riverhead residents that are renting it?
We didn't charge Riverhead residents at all to use the fields for practices, and they still can. If anybody can go use the fields anytime they want, but if you want to reserve it and have it for that particular hour, then we're going to have to charge you a fee, so we reserve it for you. So we were charging non-residents $10 per hour, and the lights were $10 per hour per field. So we would just went a generic $25 per hour fee for everybody. And we found that a lot of the Riverhead groups had out-of-towners on there as well. And then we went to $50 for the lights. So, and this is in competitive, same as Brookhaven, Southampton. We kind of gauge what's going on around us, so we're competitive and we're up to date.
And as far as for the hourly, do Riverhead residents get preference? Do they
Oh,
vote?
yeah,
So they'll, if somebody comes in, what do they have, a sign-up
Yeah.
date? They have to know, you have a due date they have to do? by?
Yeah, Ashley actually does this. She sends out letters now, once the resolution goes through. And the people that actually have used it before gets first preference. But it goes by, our order goes, Recreation Department first, school second, and then within that is the Riverhead residents. On the bottom are outside rentals. So they're bottom. If nobody else is using it, then we'll rent it to them.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Other questions?
Yeah, under the parks and beaches for the group picnic and beach party at $10 per hour,
Mm-hmm.
plus $50 attendant cleanup fee for the bathrooms. So, what do? You rope off that portion of the beach where the party's
You
gonna
don't
be?
rope off, no, they rented knowing that it's still a public facility and that anybody can use, the pavilion. So they reserve it so they can have it for the, I guess, for the hourly, and then we charge them the $50 to clean up, because a lot of them leave a mess. And we leave a park attendant there. But when they have big groups, they like to reserve it to make sure they have it. So it's
And
like a
then-
catch-22.
And then what do you do about the parking stickers for those days when people rent the beach? Do you give out temporary parking stickers?
Yeah, we'll give them like a 2-hour, or whatever their rental time is, we'll give them a sticker for that, something to put on their cars. That hasn't changed. And we don't charge people a lot, because we didn't really charge too much for picnics in the past. We didn't charge anything, but with so many people want the picnics now, so we charge a minimal fee just to get them on record, administrative fee. And then we found over the years that we had to always bring park attendants in, say on a Monday morning, because the place was an absolute mess. So we figured we'd charge the $50 per attendance fee. And we'll have a tenant there, so the park attendant will stay there, and it's kind of like he's their person for the day.
And do we have blackout times, just when the beaches are busy, the holidays?
We don't rent it during the beach time.
Okay,
It has to be after the hour, so after 5 o'clock, then they're allowed to reserve it.
okay,
But during the day, and we really rarely do it on weekends too, because it's just so crowded.
yeah.
You know, you don't want to bring in a big group when we have our residents in there.
Okay.
Well, that's all I have.
Anything else? Anybody? No? No?
All right.
Good, Ray.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Keep making money.
And then on to committee, council assignments, mission statements. I'm gonna kind of group them together with the department liaison and the boards. I think you all have a packet of the different groups. It's color-coded a little bit, it's that first sheet.
No.
Did you get one, Jody?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So basically what it is, when I tried to go through to figure out, to sort of sort through what committees were there, what committees were still active, who was on what committee, and what each committee was doing, there seems to be a couple little gaps or some vacancies in some of them. And also just as far as how the committees are, their mission statements, things like that. So what we did was just put all of the committees that we were aware of on here. Just trying to look for my sheet here. And we're gonna have, and I put numbers at the top, so like they're separated out to citizens advisory committees, that meet, board liaison to statutory committees, those are the ones that that we have. We've added the grant committee to that, just because when I've been going around to different, departments and things like that, a lot of them were bringing up grants, or they wanted to do grants, and they weren't quite sure. So I thought it might be a good place for it to sit in a grant committee, so if a department head, or if somebody was looking for a grant, it could go through the grant committee and then kind of get sorted out, where it needed to be. The other one is the liaison to the staff and the working committees. Added to that was the downtown committee, and also we have the IT committee on there, which I know, wasn't sure if they had been meeting or not meeting. Another one we did was to put the liaison to the independent boards, and I'm not really sure how that is going on now. So I'd like to discuss that with everybody, because we have the IDA, the planning board, the zoning board, and assessment review board. And whether somebody was going to those meetings and reporting back to the board, just so that we have some cross-communication, what's happening, between them, because I think a lot of times we have the planning board meetings, or they've had an IDA board meeting, and then that information is not always coming back to the town board as timely as I think maybe we'd like to see it. The next one is the board liaison to outside agencies and councils, and this had generally been assigned as a particular board member, but a lot of these are outside agencies that I would like to kind of change over to a rotating basis. So between the town board clerk and my office there, that we'd have a list of the meetings that we're going through, and then those would be brought up to the town board, and people could decide to go or not to go, or who would be our representative, because a lot of these, we all go to, you know, for different things, and this way, it's more open to when the meetings are occurring. And then the next one is the town department oversight. So the way I did it here was to just pick what you wanted. So for the citizens advisory, to pick your top 4, in the order, the board liaison to pick top 2, liaisons to staff also pick top 2. We can discuss after this how to do the other boards. And then for the town department oversight to pick the top 6.
And you want these by,
It would,
That is-
it would be nice for, yeah, I mean, you can
By the end of the
certainly.
week?
Yeah, by the end of the week, or but at least before, like Monday or Tuesday of next week, so we can do it for the next work session.
just say, you said to pick your top 2.
It's listed on the top of each one, like the
Oh, I
citizens
see,
advisory
pick
top,
4.
yeah,
I
it
see.
tells you,
Okay,
it
yeah,
tells you
very good.
which ones, to pick from there.
Excellent. I don't know whether we ever had somebody on the zoning board, though, that I can remember.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss, because we haven't had people on these other boards, but these boards make a lot of decisions that are affect the town board. So do we want to send somebody to those meetings, whether it's the town, you know, the town clerk that goes to the meeting, or we ask them for minutes after the meetings, so that it gets reported back to the town board after they have a meeting, what kind of happened at the meeting?
Yeah,
A synopsis for us.
I know they're televised, I know that we have secretaries have to take minutes.
So let
I
me
don't know where
just say how it's been going,
yeah, I don't know whether
is
we have.
that Tim sits with the planning department staff every Tuesday. They meet with new applicants that are coming in, and they discuss the applications. They discuss the department head, and Brad sits in on those meetings, and so does the town engineer when pulled in, or the highway superintendent. And those things are discussed in planning department staff meetings. So Jeff Murphy could certainly give you a report as to what happens at those staff meetings, and then you could fill the board in as to which direction, you know, you see it going, or what you'd like it to go into. But the planning board, if we have comments on a particular application, we can come up as taxpayers to the dais and at the public hearings, because all of them have public hearings now, the site plans do, and we can express our comments. And as far as the zoning board is concerned, that's like quasi judicial, so they really, I mean, you can sit in with them. I know that they do have the town attorney that we pay an outside consulting fee that sits with them, so they could report back to you, and then, you know, you can look at that stuff. But I get the zoning board agendas, And if there's something that I am concerned about, I'll ask for a copy of the survey, or I'll ask for the minutes of the meeting, or I'll ask for the findings and the facts and the decisions and things of that nature. And then I have in the past gone to board members and say, hey, town board, I don't like what the zoning board did. I think we should file an Article 78 against the zoning board, because the zoning board is an independent board that can trump town code, but normally with the town attorney that we appoint, they are, or should be, guiding the zoning board as to what their obligations and responsibilities are. And, changing zoning on properties is not one of them unless it's a change of zone application to the town board. So those are just things that I would look at in your position, is to make sure that the staff for the town is doing what you need them to do, because your day-to-day responsibility is to oversee the staff.
I guess it was more of an update, like, so you have the zoning board meeting, you can look at the agenda beforehand, but whatever decisions they've made at that meeting, we may not all be aware of. So it would just be an update to the town board, so that when the decisions are made, there's just, it's just a sheet of paper, this is with the decisions that were, so that we're all aware in a timely manner of what happened at the meetings. It's, that was my suggestion with it, because a lot of times you see it after it, or you see it in the paper before.
Well, it's also brought into the department head meeting on
Yeah.
Monday. Jefferson or Brad will come in and report from the planning board and from the zoning board to the supervisor and to whoever else is here. So it's done that way also. So that information is definitely gotten back.
And then if the supervisor has a concern about it, then he will discuss it with all of us at a
He.
work session, or she.
Okay.
He did, he would come in and explain to all of us what his concerns were, or he would have staff come and open up the site plan and actually show us what his concerns were. You may wanna do it differently, but
Well, that's what the discussion is. Do we want to do it any different, or are you happy with the way it's being done now with the information and how you receive it? Or would you like to get a little bit more of a consistent update after the meetings?
I sort of like, I do watch Channel 22, and I try to catch up that way on ZBA. I know we don't put a lot of influence on the ZBA, but it'd be nice to know what sort of laws they circumvented in town, so, no, I'd like to have a little more input. Not awareness.
so after the zoning board meetings, you would bring that back to the work session and we would talk about it, or it would just be
It's
emailed
not
to us,
necess-
or?
Well, that's the decision. We can start out with just an update by email of what went on.
Yeah, just a copy of the
and then-
agenda.
Yeah,
And
and then
whatever
just,
decision.
these are the 3 meetings that happened in the past 2 weeks, and this is an update of what's going on. And so that there is something of concern, we know it's on our radar, or, just to be aware of what's going on. We can give it a go, and then if we wanna change it as we go along, or if it's not useful, then we can change it from there.
But I think it is important to make sure that the agendas are up on the website in a timely fashion, and, then we can access those, we can access the website right through the town, portal,
Also
which,
read the minutes right through there too.
right.
Which is what I do.
Yep.
That's
So
the
as
best
long as
way for
that's
me to get the
updated, and then we
information.
can go on and see what's on the agenda for that evening, and see what's happening, so that,
So I guess
because I would normally just call over to Brad or Jeff the next day and say, hey, what happened last night on this case? Because most of the zoning board applications that you're gonna see are for residential. But I do think that, and it's been something that I've had to struggle with over the past few years, is raising the fees to actually cover the costs of the zoning board, especially when it comes to commercial applications and interpretations. I would do away entirely with interpretations, because, I don't necessarily agree with interpretations that come out of the zoning board.
So Laura,
And
you're
if there is
saying,
an interpretation that does come up, we should be amending the code so that it makes it
Well,
crystal clear.
that's kind of what I'm saying with this, so that there is that interaction between the two. So if something does keep coming up with the zoning board now, and it's not just happenstance that you see that they made the same decisions 3 times on a particular item, and it does become a zoning change, so that we're aware of it and we stay on top of it. And I think that requires a little bit of communication going through. this we can work out a little bit. I just wanted to bring it up. If it's something we wanted, I'll certainly work on it over the next week. We can bring it back to the next, an idea or a rough outline, how to keep the communication going, at the next work session, and we'll see if everybody's acceptable from that, and we can try that.
So you're going to go ahead and try having liaisons, is that what you're saying?
Well, I
mean,
think
these
there
are
seems-
such important boards, I wanna make sure that we are informed and we're getting all the information.
Well, I think that there's a couple things, you know, Jim said he'd like to know a little bit more, Jody says that, you know, she thinks there's enough, and Tim thinks there's enough with the minutes, so let's gather the information that we have, that's out there, that's easy. It may just be that it needs to be collected and put in on OneDrive for us to see, that it's a little bit more convenient for us, instead of us calling Brad and somebody else calling Brad and everybody making 3 phone calls to get the same information, so that we have the information in one place for all of us to see. So let's give that a go, I'll present that on Thursday, and we'll see how we do with that. And one of the other things that, one of the questions, I know planning and building has been separate. Do we wanna leave them that way, or do we wanna switch to more of a land management?
Yeah, they've pretty much been blended, I think, right?
Well, Tim is now in planning and I'm liaison to the building department, but that's only because of my experience in the building industry, why I was with building. And planning, I got a little bit frustrated with because I didn't feel like, what I was asking for or what I was telling them what I thought good planning could be during the department meetings, that was being translated to the actual planning board itself at the meetings. So Tim decided that he would take that over, and that's how it's been operated since, but
And you think feel it's been working okay?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay, so well, let's leave that as is.
Because even though they're a combined office, it's really 2 separate entities.
Yeah, no, I know. I just didn't know if there was, if we wanted to switch it from our perspective here. And also, if you go through any of these, like there's the Ag Advisory Committee, Alternative Transportation, Animal Control, Anti-Bias Task Force, Anti-Litter Advisory, does that meet anymore?
No, there's a few of those that we actually
Okay.
can consolidate on.
All right, so anti-litter is off.
Well, I do run, well, I do run a spring-wide cleanup on Earth Day every year. But we used to have a
There's no
committee.
monthly meeting.
There's
Do
no
you wanna-
monthly meetings anymore.
Right.
We could fold that into something
Yeah,
else.
right, right.
Animal control doesn't meet,
Animal control doesn't meet since we privatized.
So
right?
that's been private, so we're taking that out.
Yep.
Anti-litter is out. The BIDMA is obviously in. East Creek Marina, you're still meeting on,
Mhm.
correct? Energy Advisory, does that meet?
No.
I would like to keep that committee though, because, you know, I would just like to review our policies for maybe converting some stuff or doing an energy performance report, something like that. So maybe we can keep that one and just
I never remember ever meeting with that.
I used to have energy meetings all the time when,
Well, back when we were looking on the wind code and stuff like that, but
when we were looking at the wind code and we were looking at the solar code, and we had, I can't think of his name right now, and how could I? Izzy resigned as
Izzy
the
Dawson.
chair of the committee, and then it just kinda disbanded.
All right, so why don't, we'll leave that there as a potential, all right? Handicap Advisory, is that meeting?
not as often.
Do you wanna keep it as a
I
committee, or do you wanna
because
fold
we
it
do
into
meet
something else?
Occasionally, something sparks for us to meet, but, it's pretty much, we might have to re-advertise for it, because a lot of people have moved on, and
We can leave it as an ad hoc, if it's just when an issue comes up, do you want to change it to an ad hoc committee?
Yeah,
And
that
this
might
way,
be
if
easier.
something comes up, we can do it that way. Helicopter noise task force, that's still active. Manufactured home, still active. Public parking district, rec advisory.
Yep.
Senior citizens advisory, veterans advisory, and wildlife management.
Mhm.
Did I forget any that you can think of?
I don't think so.
No,
I'd have to
okay.
compare it to the list hanging in my
Okay.
office.
And are you guys okay with adding the grant committee?
Right.
That becomes like an internal committee, really.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And then the other one, like to add, I don't know if we'll start it, right, but a downtown committee also, a downtown advisory committee.
What's your focus for that?
yeah, I was gonna say, you got the.
Well, there's the
relations.
downtown advisory committee, I think there's obviously a lot of issues downtown, whether, so it has some direct focus. There is there's different ways you can approach it. A lot of small communities have used this Main Street approach, to revitalizing downtown. That actually then branches out into other committees and community committees, advisory committees. You set 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year goals, things like that. Also the downtown committee, you know, we have applied for the grant from the state for a while. I'd like the committee to be looking into that, and how do we set ourselves up to be, an attractive town on the list, for that grant, because I believe that's coming up in June or July. And I think that we need to take a look at that. So I think there's a lot of things to it. I have another part here that we'll talk about, and I think that may fold right into, what that would do.
But I do think that whoever is liaison to the BIDMA, now that Councilman Dunleavy is not here anymore, and the BIDMA and the parking district should be the same person, because the two absolutely have to
Yeah,
be
I'd
with
like
each
to,
other.
I have the parking district, I'd like to combine it with the BIDMA,
Okay,
because we work
So we'll-
hand in hand together. I think those two are very important to be together.
all right, so should we have, okay, do you want to form it as one committee?
No.
Or two separate
No,
committees, right?
definitely two separate,
committees, okay.
Be two separate committees, but then that person should
Will be
also
one-
be part of the downtown committee, is my opinion.
Actually, usually the downtown committee is not the same person. The BIDMA and parking would be different entities that would sit within that committee. They'd have representatives onto the downtown committee, but I don't know that you want one person doing everything. I think having, you know,
Yeah, I
having
think
some-
there's definitely separate interests.
Yeah.
The only thing is that there's a lot of valuable information that comes out of the BIDMA meetings and out of the parking district meetings, so where the downtown committee could be saying, okay, well,
Well,
let's
that'd be
move the
represented.
dumpster locations over here or over there, then, you know, Tim could say, well, the reason why that wasn't done is because the BIDMA wanted it this way, or the parking district wanted it that way.
Well, I'm
So it's not,
I
you don't
think
have
we
a lot
can,
of,
whoever's gonna be on the,
Yeah.
downtown committee, we can
I'm sure they're gonna have
get together
representation.
and,
Yeah, let's form exactly what the downtown committee is,
Right.
because I think we have to adopt a resolution to have the committee, and it will have its
Well, you'd have
mission
to,
statement,
right,
and
you'd have to define
and-
what you want.
and define what it
business
is.
owner,
Right.
resident.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
Almost
So-
like where we put the bid together, really.
Yeah, all right, so we have that, and then one of the other couple things that we have is we do have vacancies. We have vacancies on the architectural review board. We have,
the highlighted ones are vacancies?
yeah, well, there's two separate things. One, we have the committees, which are the board committees, and then we have the regular committees. So the miscellaneous appointments,
Mhm.
this one with the long one, these are people whose terms are either up or that they don't have enough people on the committee. So all of these, need new people.
right.
Um,
On the architectural review board, Rick Searles does wanna come back and be on the architectural review board. But he would want clearance from the Ethics Board because he does file applications with the town of Riverhead. I had a discussion with him last week about coming back. We have advertised this position on the website for a very long time. And it doesn't seem as though anybody has wanted to be on the architectural review board. We do have, 2 architects on there now. Rick Searles wants to come back, he would be a 3rd architect, but doesn't wanna go, you know, he recuses himself from Tanger, cause he represents all the storefronts in Tanger, so he recuses himself from those applications and leaves the room when someone comes in and applies for, you know, the sign permit for the architectural review board. And we have a lot of volunteers that actually do a lot of work within the town that do recuse themselves when there is a conflict. So I think that Rick would be great to have back on, and that, you know, we would just have to have the ethics board give him something saying that what he would and would not be doing as a representative on the architectural review board, but.
Is the idea is to just advertise what positions we need and who would be interested in trying to
With-
get people
yeah,
to come
that's-
forward?
They're just for transparency, I'd like to put an ad in the paper as well as online, for the different boards that do have openings with a brief description of what we're looking for. We can send that, once we get that all together, I can work with Diane on that, it comes out of the clerk's office.
Because I'm just
We
afraid
can-
that with these committees, and a lot of these committees are volunteer people that come in and really do what they can. And although their term may expire, I don't want them to think that we're not being appreciative of their of their volunteers.
Well, I think, there's certain ones that are the boards that are paid boards, okay? Well, that,
Yeah, that
I
way
think
I'm
that
not-
should be one ad that
Right.
goes in. And then as far as the other committees go, I went back, and found we do have guidelines for the town board, for these advisory committees. And what I think you guys all have a copy for it.
Yep.
But basically, it's that each committee has to develop a mission statement. Each committee develops a flow chart and decision-making. Each committee designates an individual assignment to committees. There needs to be an agenda, there needs to be minutes. They need to maintain a notebook with their contacts. They have to report back to the town board within 10 days after each meeting. And they need to submit an annual review from each committee with projects to be addressed for the upcoming year. And they need to appoint a chair and a vice chair of each committee. Now, these were adopted back in 2005, and I'm gonna say along the way, some of them probably, what they're doing has gotten a little looser along the way, so I would like to just refresh these and put these in for another updated adoption of these guidelines, because some of them just have them reporting off in 2005, and then there's not follow-up. But I think with each one of these committees on a yearly basis, we should have the committee come in, or a representative of the committee come in, share what their goals are for the next year, be able to put their minutes online with their agenda for their meetings, so that if the public wants to come in and sit on the meetings, or if they want to attend, I think that's fine. As far as the people already on the committee, I don't know, been trying to find out if there's chairs for everybody on the committee or not. It's been a little bit difficult. I'm sure things have changed for some of them, so what we'll do is contact who we think may be the chair or the current liaison from the board, to send out a letter to the committees that we are re-interviewing people for the committees, and we're reappointing for the committees, if they'd like to stay on it, to please let us know their intent, so that we can sort of start from where we are and move forward.
Laura, I just wanna chime in that I really like the idea of advertising. I think it gives us an opportunity for more outreach. Nothing against anybody on the committee, but I'm sure there's a lot of talented people in Riverhead that may have interests or expertise in some of these areas,
Let's hope,
and
let's
What?
hope.
Let's hope. No.
We ask all the time,
I
sometimes
have
some of
no
these
doubt.
committees are
I
like
have no
pulling teeth.
doubt. Well,
Yeah.
maybe if we really get the word out there,
Yeah, maybe.
some more people might come forward, so I
Hopefully.
like that idea a lot.
I think that the architectural review board too, because they are, advisory, they don't have any clout. So somebody can come in and say, I want a pink building, I want a yellow building. I tried to put up resolutions in the past that would codify, and require the town board to override them if the architectural review board made a recommendation. Because somebody could come in and say, I want a pink building, and the architectural review board can say, no, we're not approving a pink building, and then they go right to the building department and apply for a permit for a pink building, because it's approved through site plan with a pink building. So there's no bite in the actual architectural review board, and they are paid employees of the town. So I think that they should have more, being more than just advisory.
If you read it,
What committee is that?
they actually are more than advisory with what they can actually, they have quite a bit of teeth in their resolution.
And they
It's-
usually, they do deny things, and then it gets approved through the planning department anyway, because they are advisory.
I think that this, with a lot of things, I think that there are questions about the architectural review board. I think that we can certainly add that to a work session to see, and also the flow of it with Brad, because sometimes things go to the architectural review board first, and there's been lots of changes, and a lot of changes that somebody has made, that's very expensive, and then it comes to especially site plan for the town board, and, you're saying, well, this is the first time we're seeing it, when there's been a lot of changes on it. That may not necessarily be what's gonna go through the site plan approval. So I think that we need to sit down and figure the flow of that, because I think at this point right now, it's a little bit confusing on how the flow when somebody comes to town to
I agree
bring
with you
something
100%.
through. So, yeah, that's definitely,
Write that down,
what was that?
write that down.
I'm writing
I
it all
agree with you
down.
100%.
I do, because there's a lot of things that have,
Laura, just a correction on the
Yeah,
Senior
tighten it
Citizen
up.
Advisory Council. I'm the liaison, not John Dunleavy.
See, this is what the problem, everything's like really kind
Yeah,
of
this
outdated.
Yeah.
So that's why we'll start from scratch with this new list, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, let's tighten this up.
If you guys also, if you notice on the list that things are wrong, if you wanna just, even on this, the
Right.
one list we gave you, if you just wanna cross out, and you can just cross out and hand back whatever, you would like from there. All right, so any other questions about this stuff? So we'll put the ad in the paper for the boards, we'll put a separate ad in for some of the committees,
Volunteers, yeah.
yeah, for the volunteers. But at the same time, we'll send a letter out to the people that are currently on the board so that they know that they're, more than welcome.
Well, some of their terms don't expire until 2020 and 2019, so,
Well, no, not the people that aren't expiring, but there's
Okay.
almost every committee has people that, well, like even the anti-bias task force, according to our resolution, you can only have 9 people on a committee.
Mhm.
We have a few more than 9 on that committee. And I know they expanded their committee, but then that's gotta come back to us as a resolution that how many people they want on their committee, or whether they wanna do ad hoc committees. So that's just a question, that's a a housekeeping kind of question.
They didn't have a limit, right? I thought anti-bias didn't have a limit.
Well, they do, because when you go back to, I didn't have to read through them, but when you go back to the regular resolutions for the town board advisory committees, you can have no more than 9 members. So
Okay.
they have a few more than 9, which
There-
is fine if they wanna
I think there
do.
was a separate resolution when
that
they
add-
redid this committee about 2-3 years ago, and I think there's a whole separate resolution that defines that particular.
Right.
That
For
particular
that
committee.
So it
particular-
might be
That's-
outside
Right,
the
correct.
scope of that.
Okay,
That's correct.
yeah, I saw something, I just didn't go through that one.
Yeah, I think it,
and then I think it's also important now, ahead of time, before we actually advertise it, to get the mission statements from the chair and the vice chair of each committee, because some of these you need to be qualified in order to sit on these committees. With the Conservation Advisory Council, all these people are, you have a surveyor on here, you have people that are familiar with the waterways and the bulkheads, and they build bulkheads and things like that. So you want people with experience in each.
Well, that's why we'll send you the ad that's gonna go out first, so we'll contact each committee,
Mhm.
ask them for a little description of what they'd like, 2-3 sentences in their ad,
Yeah.
of what they're looking for, what the expertise they're looking for. So we'll email that all to you before we put the ad in the paper, just so you know. And the Conservation Committee, I believe you can only serve on that one for 2 years, and then you need to put new people in there. I have to check that, but I'm not sure if that's part of town law or not. I had just seen something briefly, but I'm not 100% sure.
I believe everybody on the committee.
Yeah, so, and they may have to just take a year off and come back on if sometimes that's, what you have to do, but we'll see on that one.
I don't even see.
I don't know.
It's on the
It's
smaller,
on the one that says 2018 on the front with the,
it's the smaller list, it's the architectural review is on the front of
No, I
that.
know, but where is it on here as to who is the, board liaison to? Oh, there it is, Dunleavy was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is gonna be really good, as you got, I don't, when you go, I think Jody, you said yesterday in the paper, a new set of eyes, and I have to agree with that, so let's get the word out that we're looking for some new people on some of these committees. Nothing against anyone who's ever been on there either.
No, appreciate all the work people have done.
No. Nope. Many hands make light work.
Yeah, there you go.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah, right, yeah, 6 people out there cleaning all the litter up. Laura, I did mention that I had to.
Yep.
Look, I had to be in the city
Okay,
for 5 minutes.
yep.
I did look through the resolutions.
Okay.
They look good as far as I can see, there's not.
Okay.
controversy there. And we did talk about figures and things, so.
Okay,
But I'll be helpful.
all right, so we'll head on to resolutions. Oh, yeah, thank you.
First order of business, heat fix in this place.
Like, do you read what each one is?
Sometimes. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, okay. I can't remember. Do you have it? Here, do you want mine?
It was in and then it logged out again.
All right, so the first resolution is the general fund, budget adjustment. And this is to cover for the AV services.
For what services?
This is what you guys approved, on the last meeting on the 31st, on the 17th, to have money for the contract.
Yeah,
This
this
is the
dealt
fund.
with,
This was the AV services in the contract. And then the next one is the resolution amending the charter of accounts. This is the Edmonds. You know what, this might be in a separate, the way you guys have it on the drive, it might be in a separate one. And this is, Bill, do you want to explain the changing of the accounts for the Edmonds?
So with Edmonds, we're allowed to have an alphanumeric account code, which falls in line with our state reporting. So if you look through those accounts, it's giving you a crosswalk from the old number ones to the new. One of the things, Jody, that you had asked a while back was getting the title of the department that's in there. So you see all those account numbers says accounting office supplies,
Yep.
town board office supplies. So we put that in the description of the account itself, but we've also given you a crosswalk from the old account to the new account. So this officially, the board passed the budget, the 2018 budget the way it is. All we're doing is changing the accounts that you go to look to find that budget dollar amount.
Great.
So somebody from the public, if they wanted to go and look in the budget and you have the old budget online, how do they,
We're gonna put the new budget online.
Okay.
Now that once this is passed, we're gonna put the new budget online that shows, and we'll keep the old one on there. Change the name so you can see which one is the current account structure. And you'll see the dollar amount for, again, accounting, office supplies for $500. You'll see that with the new one. You'd have to go back to this to do a crosswalk to the old one, but it will match the old one. Just a
So,
different.
will we keep the old one on there and just, can we keep the old one and just put revised and
We can do
updated? And then
revised.
put the second one
I'll
on
put
there,
something
just,
like Edmund account structure revises or something like that, so they know that this is the one that just has the new account numbers.
similar to when the town code changed over, when the codes all changed over.
Right. Right, it has an index, it's basically
Right.
an index that's
Right, yes.
referencing.
all right? Any other questions on that?
Can you put in the budget for heat?
So today's the first day using the
The
new,
2018 budget, yes.
and so then there's a backup for everybody who needs help? For the new admin system, today's the first day everyone's doing their recs on it?
Yes, my office is actually going through, we went through a couple of departments last week doing purchase recs, and that purchase order is gonna be done today, and we'll be training them as we go in the live system.
Okay, very good. The next resolution authorizes the Community Development Department to apply for a Main Street Revitalization Grant from PSEG in conjunction with the Riverhead Business Improvement District Management Association.
To accept, not
to-
to apply.
To accept, okay. Dawn, you have a couple resolutions up here, so do you want to come up and explain them?
And, Bill, have you received the projected budget from the BIDMA for 2018 yet?
Yes.
Okay, is the $15,000 match in there?
You adopted that in the fall.
I know, but I just wanna make sure that on their 2018 projections of their, tax levy, that the 15,000 for the match is in there.
That's, you really have to change your, you adopted your budget in 2018 in the fall, so if they're committing to a grant opportunity, they're gonna have to move something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We may have to get an amended budget from the BIDMA to cover this $15,000 match. And send me in on that, that would bring that you next.
Mhm.
No, you're not on the BIDMA yet.
Not yet.
Or if they have a beef meeting this week, please. Okay, do you want to go over the resolutions that you have in here?
So, I was unable to print mine this morning, but I had, oh, thank you.
This
So
is the first one,
The
which
first
is-
one is just, it needs to be amended to accept the grant. We have the grant, it was authorized, we applied, we received. The BIDMA did commit to the match, but again, I don't think it would be a bad idea to just have them affirm that their budget includes that money. And that, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that grant, it was a small downtown new program, pilot program with PSEG. They offered it. we got together with FIDMA, we decided what we thought would be the better, program to apply for. We applied, got it. They're gonna do a new festival in the winter, with lighting, LED lighting, should be very interesting. They have an artist that's gonna be curating it. It's kind of an exciting new event, and, so we're gonna accept that if the board is so inclined. And then the following one,
Is that for the winter this year or next year?
it's not, it's probably gonna go online right after the last Alive on 25 in August. That's when they're gonna be able to get they have to get the sculptures commissioned.
Mhm.
We talked about that the other day, we had a conference call with PSEG. We may have to extend the deadline in this grant, because the letter agreement says we need to have everything kind of ready to go by May. They don't think they're gonna be ready to go up by May, but we conferenced with FIDMA and PSEG, they were fine with extending it until the first event, 11/25, and once we get that done, then it should be pretty quick, once they,
Okay.
and then hopefully maybe they have a phase 2 next year, they have plans for additional phases for this event, so if we can get the funding again, it would be great, so.
Be nice.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's
pretty.
a nice one, I think.
Yeah. And then the next one we have from you is your ratifies the omnibus resolution relating to requirements of the Public Authorities Accountability Act of 2005.
Okay, so that's your typical organizational meeting resolution where we organize the CDA, which you are all members of in a different capacity than you are as town board members. Basically, that affirms the membership, moves forward, and I think, can I?
Yeah,
Is it
go ahead,
is
here
it a
you go.
touch?
You can,
The next one is
Yeah.
to appoint the members. of
Yeah,
the-
okay, so then the next one is the second resolution, and I think we discussed setting the meetings for this.
Do you wanna just discuss that, cause it hasn't been
Yes,
necessarily.
so Public
done.
Authorities Accountability Act was done in 2005. It was done after there were some issues at the state level with accountability of public authorities. So being, the CDA being a public authority, as is the IDA, we had to comply with certain regulations, including adopting a audit committee and a governance committee, and those committees would be comprised of whomever you choose. And so I left those resolutions open for you to include whomever you wish. But typically, it would be Bill in audit, myself, and in governance. And then we adopt policies similar to what you do as town board. So you have a procurement policy and a harassment policy and those similar policies. So we basically, in this resolution, re-adopt all those previously established policies, and then we can meet quarterly, and we have our committee meetings. Those committees would generate any new ideas based on law or whatever you think for committees and new policies and things like that. And then we report at the end of the year. So in March of this year, we'll do a year-end report for what happened in 17. It would include whatever those committees decided and agreed upon, and then we move on from there. And what the CDA did, basically, as an agency. So if you move forward with a contract with Illuminati, that would be included in that report, things like that, so.
So it's really just quarterly reports, and then we just need to name one person to the public, for the Public Authorities Accountability Board?
There's, I think
Or
there
there's-
were two
Is it
committee.
governance?
Yeah, governance and audit. So audit
and the
committee,
supervisor
there's a TBD in the, I'm sorry, I didn't.
sat
mean
on
to-
that,
Yeah,
Right, but you also need a second person?
yes.
yes,
You go down,
correct.
So is anybody interested in the second person? And then there's for the one committee, and then the second one is for the audit committee. So it's two separate people we need, correct?
Correct, yep.
And you might wanna add that to the town board committee assignments and requests for assignments list.
Okay, we can do
Under
that.
the liaison to staff and working committees, put CDA under that, I would say. And there is a class that they offer usually in the beginning of the year for the public authorities that you should be familiar with. I've taken the webinar, it's
Yeah.
like a 4-hour thing, but
It's exciting.
it is exciting. But it tells you about the responsibilities of being one of the members on that CDA committee, so.
So it sounds like you wanna be on the governance committee for a little while?
Sounds like
For
you
a
have
little
the
while, I
expertise
could,
for
but-
it.
It sounds
You had the
more
4-hour
painful than
training.
it is. It's pretty straightforward. You know, we'll give you all the things that we see coming forward and new that might be things you want to include in those policies and things like that. So we kind of keep on top of that, and then we'll give you
So
the information.
if I don't have the committee members by tomorrow, can we accept this and then just to be determined for that, or leave that
That's up
to be
you.
appointed?
You know, I don't think it's absolutely urgent to have
Okay.
those committees appointed. I think if you, within the next
Do it
few
before-
weeks,
before
you
the
could
first
do it,
quarter.
yeah,
Okay.
without a doubt.
Okay,
All right? And, I don't know, do I have another one? there?
and then just
Okay,
that,
four.
just that the town board is the office of members.
Yeah, did I have another resume,
No.
grant
That was
resume?
it.
No, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough
That's
then. That will do it.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Elaine.
The next is authorize an application on behalf of the North Fork Animal League for funding for New York
I
State.
skipped one. Yeah, it should be highway superintendent expenditure.
Okay, so that's the, animal shelter. There's a grant available through Ag and
Oh, okay.
Markets
You bet.
for companion animals. As you know, you are contracted with North Fork Animal Welfare League. I said that correctly, I usually mess it up. They run your shelter and do a great job. We've been in contract with them for a few years. The town board also established with them a long-term lease for the Pfeiffer Center with the hope that the shelter could be moved there. So this may be an opportunity to do it. We can apply for, based on the size of our town, up to $200,000. We would apply through them as a not-for-profit. We've already worked, the application's due the 10th. We've already gotten it it's already almost done. I've been working with them closely, and if you're inclined, we can make that application. I think it's not gonna be any financial impact to the town other than what you've already committed to, which is contracting with them
Right.
on an ongoing basis to run the shelter and the animal control capacity.
Where are they with the DEC permit as far as moving into that location?
So, I think we have a DEC permit, I have to double check. The thing that's a little tricky is the health department. The health department, based on the subdivision, we needed to apply for the entire parcel as one lot. So originally, we were splitting that off as a lot, and then the health department, because the covenants on the property require that everything new be connected to sewer, and because this would be an extremely costly endeavor to connect to sewer, we would look for a waiver from the health department. That application required us to have a lot. Initially, we applied
So
with
it's
a smaller lot, but
subdivision.
now it's not subdivided, so we have to apply with the overall lot. So we've been working with the surveyor and Jeff Butler, who's consulting to North Fork Animal Welfare League to get that application moved forward, which it is moving forward quickly. The more shovel-ready this application is for Ag and Markets, the more likely we already get it. There aren't a lot of applicants from what we can tell online so far. I think we have a pretty good shot. I think it would be a great project.
And is that grant application site-specific, or is it,
Yes, we are making it site-specific, because that's the plan. So, I mean, that's been the plan,
Right.
and that was the long-term lease for the property. They have a 50-year lease on it, that's where they wanna go. I know there were discussions about it going to other locations.
well, I just
I-
thought it was a valuable building in an industrial site and thought that we could have sold it and got $1 million but instead, the rest of the board felt that, we needed to move it there, which I still disagree with. But, I'm just saying if there was additional grant money and that you could expand and fix up the existing shelter where it is, then, you don't have the threat of Crown Sanitation being the only one that would wanna buy it and expand over onto the animal shelter property.
Well, I don't.
So those are just
yeah.
things that, just throwing it out there.
But I don't, there was never plans drawn up to redo where they currently are.
Not that I'm
That
aware
was
of.
never on the, right?
No.
That would be starting from scratch, basically, there, right? From,
I don't know.
The current plan is that they would, rework the existing building, and then they wanna add a Morton building to it, basically, and make that, all the new, so. And they have a good amount of funding they can get, and they have,
they have a lot of commitments,
they're
right?
paying the
Correct?
match, yeah, they have the funding to do this. This would just be another funding
funding
source for
source.
them to make it a better project and more, and happen
So they do have the
more
funding
quickly.
to get started
I
as
have the
soon as house
resolution,
fire?
yeah, I have the resolution committing, from their board committing to the match.
Right.
So I,
Already committed for this.
Yeah, and this match would be, if we were so fortunate as to receive the entire, possible funding, they are gonna match a 200,000. So,
Alright.
but their project to start with is a $1.4 million project.
Right, but they don't have that much.
They have,
They're close on their.
they tell me they have, they're ready to roll,
Okay.
so.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, it would be amazing if we could get it done,
Mhm.
so. Okay, if you were okay with that, then I think.
I mean, it's
now I'm
just
done.
authorizing it to go through, I think it's, you
Then
know.
she's done.
Now I'm done. All right, I knew there was a pause.
Are you on the highway
Thank you,
one?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yep, approves the highway superintendent expenditures, I believe that was 75,000 last year also, to spend up to.
Mhm.
Ratifies and accepts the postponement of retirement, that's Brian Gleason has pulled his retirement. Adopts a 2018, living wage, which is gonna be $13.95. Which is good. This is our policy, maintains our policy of non-discrimination. Some of these are part of just reorganizational that need to be done.
Right.
Authorize a stipend with the town engineer. This is Drew Dillingham's, that has been issued every year.
For the STOP program.
It's for the stock program, correct. Appointed executive assistant to the supervisor, and that will be John Arafino, he is right here.
Well, when are we going to be discussing the salaries and the terms of their contracts and things of that
It's in the
nature?
package. It's in the resolution too.
Okay, so, because we had discussed in your holding over the deputy supervisor that there was an expense that came with that, and we were going to be deducting that expense from the salaries in your office. So
For the
is
overall,
that-
the overall expense of the office, the budgeted office for the year. So with that, we could discuss it, I mean, a lot of it has to do with, Jill is only staying for a period of time, and then will be replaced after that, so I stay within the line item of my budget. I'm actually less because of benefits. My office comes down by quite a bit.
Really, because I don't think Carol and Jill took benefits, and the only person in that office that did was Larry. But-
There were two people in that office that took benefits, which were up about $56,000, and the benefits coming out of my staff will be about 28. So that's a big cost savings there.
Okay, so Bill, you have all those numbers for us to look at?
Yeah.
And then-
also the retirement account also will be less, and also for the deferred comp is less. So the overall expense coming out of the office actually is less. Even
And
with
you're gonna
Jill
backload- You're
saves.
gonna backload the benefits package, so it would be at the end.
Right, I
rather
changed the
than at
benefit
beginning.
package because the way it was worked in the contract is, January 1st, you got all of your benefits, and that
Right.
was in the contract before I came, and that's the way it is now. Going forward, that will not be the case, it will be prorated at this point. So you'll get your benefits in the beginning, so say if you wanted to take vacation before you accrue the full week in February, you could do that. But if you were to leave or terminated at any time, you only get prorated for the amount of time that you'd be there, so it's like 1.25 days, whatever. Same similar to what they
Right.
do with the sick time.
Yes.
So I changed that so that we're not in that situation
And
again.
that's in here also?
That's in their contracts, correct.
Okay. So are we going to be moving a policy on that, moving forward for contractual employees
They're individual,
versus
they're
unions?
individual contracts, same as they were, Larry and the staff that was in there now has been the precedent that each one of them, they're individual contracts, so they're negotiated individually. All of my contracts have that in there. I do have a part-time employee in there also who has no benefits, no vacation time, no sick time or anything, because they're under a certain number of hours a week.
Well, that's good, because
Yeah.
I don't support full-time benefits for part-time employees, so.
Two things we agreed on right away.
Yeah.
We're rolling.
So okay, I just wanna make sure that in the contracts that we have going forward, because we are going to be doing probably some reappointments of some contractual employees now, that it's consistent with all of the contracts that are coming through. With that perspective anyway, with accruing vacation time and not just getting all your vacation time come January 1 and retiring January 30th and walking away with 4 or 6 weeks vacation.
I totally agree with you, Jody.
So I just wanna make sure we're consistent in all of our contracts moving forward, and that's a policy that the town board puts forward. And accruing vacation time rather than just getting it all come January 1.
Yep, and all of the employees are contributing to their health care plan, also, which was not the case previously. So we have that also.
The way it should be.
Yep.
Good job.
So this would be John, and then appoints a part-time legislative secretary, that will be Cindy Clifford. Reappoints the town historian, so we're very lucky to have Case coming back. Appoint a secretary to the town supervisor office, that will be Patrick Dorenzi. Setting terms and conditions of appointment, this is their, what you were just talking about, Jody. So this is for each of them, that's for Patrick, one is for John Marafino.
We won't have one for Cindy.
They will, yeah, because she's under the number of hours.
Do you have the hours that she will be working? Your
She'll be
part-time
working
employee?
15 hours a week.
15 hours a week on a flexible
Flexible.
schedule?
Flexible schedule, yeah.
We can do terms and conditions for Cindy.
The next one is to set salaries of various board members for the year 2018.
Gotta get to it. There we go.
Yeah, I think it's on a different. So everybody was given their raises as per their contract as of this time. There were a couple bumps that you guys had approved prior
They're not
to,
included in here.
they're not in the December, there was two people
Okay,
in the,
those ones
in
are.
the December meeting that were included,
Yes.
included in here.
For the budget ones, you'll discuss it next week.
Right, correct. The set salaries of police officers for the year 2018. To set the salaries of the sewer and scavenger waste district for the year of 2018. To set the salaries of the water district employees for the year 2018. To set the salaries of the general town employees for the year of 2018. To set the salaries of the highway department for the year of 2018. To set the salaries of the street lighting district for the year of 2018. Everybody up?
So, all of the increases for for management employees and non-union, you're saying that none of those raises are in here except for the two that we approved in December?
No, the raises that people were contractually, what you guys had said beforehand, I think that there were department heads that were part of a 2% increase.
With the CSEA
Yes,
resolution
right.
from 1996 where they attached themselves to the
Right.
CSEA?
Those that were not attached to that, did not get any bump in salary. So there were several that were not interested in doing it at that time, so we just followed those procedures.
Okay.
And then we set the fees for the usage of recreation and other facilities, that's what Ray just spoke about. I think there's a double in there of that one. Annual review and adoption of the procurement policy, this is part of the reorg meeting that you need to do every year, there's been no changes to it since last time. Appoints official online publication, that would be Riverhead Local. We have an appointing of the bond council. Do you want to address any of that for the bond council?
Yeah, it's the same every year, he hasn't increased his fees, if we go and we bond, the last bonding we did was an EFC bonding, we get paid through the bonding itself, so that's just officially authorizing him.
So the fee schedule actually says 2017, it can be updated to 18 with no changes.
Yes.
And the next one is to set the towing and storage fees. And that has not changed. Adopts amendment to the investment policy for the town of Riverhead. Appoints official newspaper. Approves chapter 225 application of event power. This is the Riverhead Rocks on March 24th, 2018. I believe that this has been an ongoing event that we have had here.
What day of the week is that?
March 24th is a Saturday or a Sunday, I think.
Sometimes it's on a Saturday, and it's from 7 to noon. Good, because we have, we had discussed in the past that when there are events on Saturdays that are during the church hours that we have downtown at 5 o'clock mass, or on Sundays during mass schedules, that we discussed possibly having the applicants start posting around the churches to let them know that there would be an event going on, to give them more time to get there. Because we got a lot of complaints when the roads were blocked off and people were trying to get to church and they weren't able to. So we had discussed possibly requiring the applicant to post.
Okay. I think that a lot of this, I know you guys have spoken to it before about the chapter 225, 255 applications, I think that we should definitely put this on for a work session. I know, I think you were looking into it, and I don't know if Tim, you were looking into it. I don't know with some of the
It was
events, whether,
Councilman Wooten and I and the deputy supervisor, and it was, and the chief of police.
somebody, yeah, so, I mean, even as far as, you know, some events, how we're gonna maintain the calendar, are there certain days that we just wanna block out, before the season starts, so that we know that we're not over congested? So I think it's a lengthy discussion. I think it could be a full work session to try
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
figure out how we can do this.
Probably 2 or 3. For 4 hours each time to
Yeah.
talk about it, 'cause that's what we've done ourselves.
That'll be a lunch session. And this is rescinding a, resolution, rescinds a resolution,
Retirement.
yes, for retirement. I think you guys had passed this and for effective,
We're going to be discussing today.
yeah, the 31st, so that's been rescinded. Authorize the supervisor to, execute an agreement with, Fly Stenography and Transcription Services for transcriptions of our town meetings. I think you guys have talked about this, and preferred to keep the transcriptions going, that everyone found it helpful.
Yeah, the clerk deals mostly with that, and she recommends,
Yeah, we only
that.
use them once in a while when there's, you know, when the
Overall.
regular transcriptionist is unable to, or if there is, sometimes there are certain, public hearings that require a court stenographer, once in a rare while, so we use their services.
Does Q&E do you have to have a stenographer qualified and eligible?
Good question, I'll look into it.
Okay, all right. And then the next one is to extend a bid for electronic motor repair, replacement, including emergency repair for the Riverhead Town Water District. And that is the end of the resolutions. Any question on? All right, so now we'll go into executive session. We have a couple items. One is with the town attorney for a personnel. We have, with the police also for personnel, and a contractual for EPCAL and a CSEA.
so you're adding police
Police,
actual on here?
police personnel, and then the other one is the town attorney's office for personnel.
Okay.
It's just like how we are.